Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, all members are present. Approval of the agenda. Is there any changes or corrections?
Brad, you have one addition?
What's that? Yeah, I just wanted to add a comment at the end about the time traveler's check for September.
Oh, and the
20th.
informational?
Informational.
Okay. Informational, I'll just put Brad. Any other changes, council? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the August 20th, 2025 meeting. Is there any changes or corrections needed or clarification? There is one change. I think it's already been taken care of. That was on page 4, where it stated that I remove myself from the council, and it should have been Brad.
Correct.
So that one's already been taken care of. Any clarification and anything else within those minutes? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the August 20th, 2025 meeting?
So,
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. This now brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone that would like to? I know Kayla wants to come up. Logan? Logan's doing it? Okay.
3 minutes, right? Logan Gruber, 532 Main Street South. Thank you, just private citizens here. We just wanted to talk to you, share a little bit about what we've learned about the idea of a possible community center. We have a take-home handout for you as well. We're also sharing this information with the school board, chamber board, Rotary Club, Community Connections, Lions, and the Community Foundation Board, so just informational for everybody. Little bit of background, we did conduct 2 major surveys. The first one in 2023 was a general survey. We had 618 responses from residents within the school district. 2024 survey was focused on the idea of a community center. We had 473 school district residents respond. These surveys revealed multiple needs, such as gaining resources from the county, creating a more welcoming community, increasing economic activity, and determining the feasibility of a community center type building or resource. And that's what we're focused on with this group. Everybody raise your hand, wave, say hi. Thank you. All right, and this builds on the idea from the city's 2040 comprehensive plan created by SRF Consulting, which recommended indoor recreation and community center space. Some of the themes from the survey, positive themes, included the idea of a walking track, pool, pickleball space, gym space, safe indoor areas for kids and teens, and year-round recreation, as well as event space. Some of the concerns from that survey included the cost, higher taxes, overlap with existing school or gym space, competing with private business ventures, and rising construction costs over time. This group did research and tour additional regional facilities like the Monticello Community Center, St. Cloud YMCA, Whitney Rec and Senior Center, Sartell Community Center, and the Maslowski Wellness and Research Center in Wadena. They also went to local facilities like the National Guard Armory, went through all the schools, gyms, and fields, and the workout room, senior center, Dancing on Broadway, ET Fitness, places like that as well to do research. And we met with the athletic director, community education director of the school. Lessons that we've learned so far: sustainability is going to be harder than the actual construction of these facilities. Demographics, patron base, just FYI. So Litchfield just built a community center. They have 23,000 people in Meeker County. For us, that would be like a 13-mile radius around Sauk Center. In talking to places that do feasibility studies, they do community centers on a 30-minute drive radius, which for us would be 50,000 people. So the next logical step for our group is to head towards a feasibility study. The most likely candidate for that would be Ballard King and Associates, which is a cost of $15,000, which we'll be working towards. We haven't heard back from other candidates yet besides Ballard and King and the Minnesota Design Team, which is a kind of a different focus than a feasibility study. So looking ahead, the feasibility study will help us figure out if this is something that we should continue putting our private energy in before we try to, use any other resources that are in the area. So just FYI for you guys, you've got a handout, and thank you for your 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the council? Okay.
Jeff Lake, 707 Lakeshore. Later in the meeting, you'll be discussing a resolution about our appeal on the Lakeshore. I just want to kind of give you the summary of how we got here. March 26, 21, I went in the city of Sauk Center, applied for a permit to put in a retaining wall. I was told by the city to go to the watershed. They sent an email saying they would check with other agencies, including the DNR, about anything necessary. Well, didn't hear anything. So as a matter of permitting, it had been May 25th, 2021, that permit was granted. Also had a permit from the watershed by then. I did the project. There were some changes that I did present to the watershed, including the patio as well as the ramp, because I figured out we didn't need to put steps in. Went to the watershed. They didn't need any updates or anything, so I went ahead and did it. It would have been 22. I got a cease and desist working on my lakeshore, on some sand from the DNR. Paid a fine. 2 years went and gone from there. Now I get a letter from the city last fall saying that everything I did was illegal. I had no permit. Well, as a matter of fact, I did have a permit. I did it according to my permit. Went to the watershed, checked with them about the certain things, and actually did it according to that. I'm not sure why I was granted a permit after the fact on my patio and not the sidewalk, but that's what happened in the city. The watershed did a post-completion inspection, which included pictures clearly of the beach, the wall, the ramp, the upper wall, and signed off on them. As far as I know, the city of Sauk Center never did a post-completion inspection, which all of this should have been caught on that post-completion inspection, not 4 years later. After some negotiations, discussions, they did admit that I had a permit. I did what I did under a permit. The city actually went as far as the council as they put an article in the paper, basically without naming me, claiming that I did all this without a permit. And that's not true. As far as what they want done, I mean, I've talked about planting some grass. We've had several discussions, but nothing seems to please anybody. So Councilman Kirchhoff came out. I don't know if anybody else showed up, but so what you've done is you've put me in kind of in a bad spot. This whole wall and everything, patio included, was designed around what I submitted to the watershed. And to cut it down would create like a river that would flow behind that wall, and that wall would just be eroded out from behind. So I'm not sure what the resolution could be there. I mean, I've tried to work with you. I don't know what else I can do. But if you have questions, ask, but I need this, especially the fine. Now you charge me $700-800 for a fine with a permit. So I guess I'm a little confused what I can do to make you happy.
Okay, thank you. Gary, you.
Good evening. Gary Lesko, represent Jeff and Beverly Lake on the matter. Been here before. Appreciate everybody's attention to the matter. We met with the policy committee, I think it was on the 28th, so last week, and appreciated their opportunity to do that. I know Councilmember Kirkhoff went out to the site. He got to see it. Appreciate that. We'll obviously answer any questions, and during the item number, I think it's 7B, if you have any other questions, we'll sure provide those. It's a messy case. You know, the Lakes didn't want to be here. They came in, did what they thought they needed to do, and I think they did what they needed to do. They went to the watershed district. Everything's been approved at the site for years. And this came up, and because the way the project is, you know, council member, you saw the site. This isn't, they didn't set up a difficult situation, so it's difficult to fix it. They set up a situation based on what they understood they were permitted for. And had it been, you know, had the city gone through the process right away, they wouldn't be here either. I mean, they've cooperated since day one. They got the notice. They didn't just tell the city to go take a hike. They worked with us, or worked with the city. I worked with the city on their behalf. They've taken this very seriously. Every time they've been at, you know, it's been put on the agenda, we show up here. I think Sauk Center is a great thing. I don't need to come to your council members, and you don't need me here if not needed. So they do appreciate the resolution and having it set out so that it's done, that they want it to be done, and they appreciate that. But because of the way the project was done, it ends up being very difficult to kind of pick and choose what part of it needs to be fixed. The fill part along the lake between the retaining wall and the lake is complicated with the retaining wall, and it's going to cause long-term maintenance issues if and this wasn't talked at the policy committee, and we weren't aware that that was something that was asked to be addressed, or we would have talked about it there. So we didn't leave it out of that discussion is the point. And I don't think you sat there and tried not to either, but we didn't get to talk about that. And it's gonna wash out, I mean, that's how this started. They were losing, they're on kind of a point, and the waves come from the west, and it washes there, and with the boat action, it just washes, and they didn't want to lose all their trees up the hill, and they did it this way. So I would ask for not to have that requirement, because I think the facts of the case allow for it. The shrubbery isn't an issue at all, that they would do the shrubbery with that, which is the aesthetics, but it's important, it's on a lake, they get that. And then to cut the walkway or the path down ends up being a washout issue. And it's gonna, if they have to do that, it would probably have to reconfigure the whole thing, which I think adds more complexity to it. So it asks that they could just leave the walkway alone based on everything that's been done here. And they will follow through with the other items. If they can leave the sand the way it is, leave the walkway the way it is, it's been there for 4 years, permitted by the watershed district, and let this be done. On the fine, and I know there was some talk about how other cases were handled. I've looked at that some, and I don't have a definitive answer, but in this case, they did get a permit. There was no post-permit inspection, which is by ordinance. There was a dispute between the Lakes and the city on whether this permit met the requirements of the 60-day rule, 1599. That took the time it took. The city did send a letter then on June 25th saying, we grant you, you have your permit, but you're in violation in this part, and right away it went $100 a day. And we've said, we'll work with you. We came here with the policy committee. I appreciate that the council did stop the fine, but I think that is treating them like they basically just flipped the city off, which they didn't do. And a lot of these cases that happens. So I would ask for a substantial reduction on the fine. We'll answer any questions about during the resolution. We do genuinely appreciate, we know there's a dispute, but your attention to this matter, the care you put into it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the council? One last time, is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Okay, our public open forum is now closed. We have no public hearings. We will move on to reports and presentations. City engineer report. Keith?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Apologize for being a little more casual than usual tonight, but I've been playing inspector all week, so been here in town, which is fun. Anyway, things are going really well. The project is really right on schedule. As of last night, all of the pipe work on the project is totally complete. So that's a good milestone to get past us. We only have 2 more blocks, Birch Street from Sinclair Lewis to 5th that needs to get the subgrade work done and then put gravel on it, and then it'll be ready for curb. All of the last section will be all set for curb and gutter. So that'll be going in. So that'll be next week, probably early next week. And there was talk about late this week yet, but it kind of doesn't look like that's probably going to happen. So it'll probably be Monday, Tuesday, perhaps next week for that. And then it's a lot of flat work, sidewalk work, and restoring boulevards and all those kinds of good things. But it's really going along well. We're really, I'd say, about 75%, 70 at least, 75% complete with the project in total, and things are right on schedule. In fact, at this point, as the pipework is done, they're actually doing the water main connection down there in 12th Street right now that was added to the project by the PUC, and that hopefully will get done tonight. If the lights go out, something went bad. So, and I'll be running out of here. So. Later on, I know there's an item for Canna and Tractor Trail, and if that gets approved tonight, they'll actually be there tomorrow morning and doing a little bit of utility work that's on that, and then everything kind of in town is done, if you will. So things are going well. So I guess with that, I will ask if there's any comments or questions for me.
Comments? Questions?
When are they gonna do the permanent signage for 8th Street in regards to all the temporary one-ways and whatnot along there?
It's all in order to be put. It was, I think, a week ago, they said 3 weeks, so another couple of weeks probably, and then, might take maybe another week. So probably, I would say by the end of September, we should have all the permanent signage up for that. And it'll be done. We do have, there are some striping and that's on the roadway, and we will do some of that this year and then wait and do all of it when the wear course is put on in 2026. So we'll just do kind of enough minimally that's acceptable for now, and then we'll let it sit through the winter and do it all next year.
Okay, any other questions? I just got a couple for you, Keith. I went through the line item. I know we got a pay request coming up later, and as long as you're up here, I figured I'd ask you now.
Sure.
Going through the line items. What's that?
I don't have them in front of me.
I know you don't. But maybe you can do some investigating on them. There's like 17 line items that we're over the top on. And some of these I can probably understand. They bid on 58 tree removals. We removed 89. So, okay, where'd the other 30 trees come from? I know there was an increase on some of the tree removals, but I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah, there was quite a few that were added that Public Works decided they wanted to get those removed as well when when the project was getting started. So there were a number that were added on the trees, so, so definitely that's an increase.
Okay. The storm drain inlet protection, are those, they don't deteriorate or break down or anything, do they?
Well, they can be used again, it kind of depends on how rough they get utilized, I guess, but yeah, are we over on those? I don't remember looking at that.
The reason I'm asking is because they only bid that they needed 36 and they used 44.
Okay.
And yeah, there's $170 each one, but this all adds up when you got 17 line
Yep.
items.
Yep,
So, removal of, manhole storm, there was only 12 bid. All of a sudden, we found out we got 15 of them we need to remove. Where'd the other 3 come from if the engineering or somebody didn't count right?
say inlet, say that again?
That's
which one was that?
remove this manhole for storm sewer.
I will look into that.
Same thing with remove the manhole for the sanitary. Said there were 16 of them to take out. They took out 18.
Okay,
So it's just stuff like that on there. All I did was look at the contract quantity and the quantity to date, and if it's over the top, I'm going, why?
Yep.
So basically, when you get back to the office or whatever, and
I'll
if you
audit
could
those.
look at it, because of 12-inch RC pipe sewer design, you know, it's bid 909 feet, but we got 920 feet. Well, we didn't run an extra 15 feet anywhere that I know of. But it's still, you know, this is all money that adds up, so I'd kind of like to get an answer on where this is coming from, or
Okay.
or if they underbid and they can slide it through. I wouldn't think they'd do that, but
Well, the quantities are things that we generate the quantities for those, so unless something was, you know, missed of here or there, that's possible. But I'll audit the records and see if there's anything that's by chance doubled up in any payments, and we'll correct that if necessary.
okay. Because like, you know, there's another one here, it's $1,800 for each one of them. Salvage and reinstall CB 24 by, what is that, corner curb or something? We salvage and reinstall, they bid on one, but we did 3 of them. Well, that's an extra $3,600.
Okay.
You know, so it's that kind of thing that without, I just want explanations on how come we're going over the top on some of this.
I'll just go through all of them and just look
Yep.
for those. And
Appreciate it.
Yep, will do.
Does anyone else have any questions or anything like that? Okay, thank you, Keith.
Okay, thank you.
6B, EDA report.
So the EDA met today at noon in regular session. They have a couple of recommendations for you tonight. The first is that we proceed with the hospitality study, and I'll talk about more of that at that section, as well as the Tractor Trail Canna Avenue project. And then also they received an update on the lot sales at Authors. We did close one last week, and then we have another closing tomorrow. So they are starting the process of looking at another phase. But then we will have, I think all the lots we have purchase agreements on will be closed then as of tomorrow. And then I do have the 2 action items later.
Okay, questions, concerns? Okay, park board report?
So the park board met this evening at 5 o'clock. That is their new regular time on the first Wednesday of the month. They don't have any action items for you tonight. They just looked at updates on the trail project, the storm damage insurance claim for the park-related items, some challenge park repairs, and the ball field improvements. And they did review the 2026 budget and the 5-year capital improvement plan. Like I said, they do have no recommendations for tonight's meeting.
Questions, concerns? Policy committee report?
So the policy committee met with Jeff Likes and his legal counsel. He spoke with you earlier this evening to discuss a proposed resolution to the shoreline violation notice he was sent, and we will talk about that more in detail at the subject item.
Okay. And then Operations Committee report.
The Operations Committee met on the 26th. They received input on the five-year capital improvement plan from each department head. The plan includes the replacement of equipment and vehicles along with purchase of the new equipment and improvements to streets, parks, and buildings. The plan is being finalized. It's being included in the proposed budget for 2026. That's also, and then that budget is going to the Finance Committee. That'll be looking at it Friday morning. Then it'll be turned around and sent out to the City Council, and you have your meeting on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Next Wednesday night is the date that we set for that. So I'll try to get that budget emailed out to you yet on Friday, so you have some time to look over it. And then you'll also have hard copies you can either pick up, or it'll be here at the table when you come to the meeting on Wednesday night.
Questions or concerns about that? Okay, then we will move on to action items. Approve Resolution 2025-78, calling the hearing on final assessment reclamation.
So as you know, earlier this year, the City Council entered into a contract with Mark Lee for a reclamation project to reclaim Park Lane and Parkview Drive and a part of Hendrick Street. It included a full-depth reclaim followed by a base and wear course. The project is now underway if you've been out there. 35% of the project will be assessed to the abutting property owners. Prior to the assessment, the City Council shall hold a public hearing to consider comments and concerns. So the attached resolution calls for the public hearing to be held on October 1st, 2025. It's Resolution 2025-78. We will mail notices out to all the affected property owners and include in that notice what their proposed assessment is. Generally on a reclamation, we don't get a lot of people that come to the public hearing, but there's always a first time. So that's 2025-78.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-78?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Any other discussion
Just a reminder, I will not be here for that meeting.
for the October 1st?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a note of that. Any other questions or discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, approve resolution 2025-79, resolving lake appeal.
As you heard in open forum, the policy committee met with Mr. Lake and his legal counsel. The city council had remanded Mr. Lake's appeal of his shoreline alteration violation notice to the committee at a prior meeting in an effort to come to an agreement and recommendation on the appeal. And he gave you some background. I have it in more summary. On June 25th, he was sent a notice of code violation. June 25th, 2025, he was sent a notice of code violation. The alleged violation was he constructed a concrete path or ramp within the shore impact zone, and it also brought in sand fill in violation of the floodplain and shoreland ordinance. The notice had instructed him to remove the path and ramp and the sand and fill and to restore the impacted area, and it included a fine for 78 days at $100 per day or $7,800. So Mr. Lake's attorney, on behalf of Mr. Lake, appealed the notice to the city council, who then sent the issue to the policy committee. At the policy committee meeting, he had stated that the sand and fill and the ramp were part of the application to the Sauk River Watershed District, who had issued him a permit for the seawall in 2021. However, the permit does not have that language on it. The committee discussed a possible resolution. They said narrow the concrete path to 4 feet and plant native plantings or shrubbery along the pathway to restrict its view from public waters. We did put language from our prior restorations that plantings would be 18 to 24 inches tall, planted 24 inches on center. That's something we can talk about. And then to provide for ongoing maintenance of those plantings, that no additional sand or fill should be brought in the shore impact zone, that the existing sand would remain in place, that it would be more detrimental to the lake to remove it than to leave it in place. To pay the fine to the city, the amount was to be determined by the city council. The committee had discussed a 50%, so it'd be $3,900 versus the $7,800 that he had been fined. He did pay a fine to the DNR of $300 previously. There was an additional option I did put in here, and I did send this to the Lakes previously, was that on our other restorations, similar to this, we had required restoration of the shoreline with native and aquatic vegetation, except for that 50 feet or 1/2 of the shoreline. When I talk about the restoration, it's plants. It's plants with deep-rooted plants to prevent erosion. And that was what some of the other people had done that had this similar situation. So you can provide input on that, and if you have questions for the applicant, of course, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer those. I do have a resolution in front of you that lays those items out. You can certainly discuss each of those. The fine, he had talked about wanting to leave the path in place. And again, his open forum comment. Other than that, and then I think he didn't want to do the shoreline restoration or the plantings. So I don't know if you have any questions for me, or if you want to ask them any additional questions.
I have one. What is the width of the path right now?
It's 5 feet.
5 feet? Right.
I think this, Mayor Stone has a picture of it in front of him.
I've seen it.
It shows the path coming down with the golf cart. Here's some during it. This is what it was before. One thing I'm gonna mention, I agree with his attorney. It's been messed up quite a bit. One thing is the city goofed up on the 60-day rule, so they got the permit. The watershed permit, the way I understand it and see, was issued before the 60-day thing from the city. And I got a copy of the permit, and it states on here that the applicant shall acquire all other permits as required by other agencies. Failure to do shall void this permit. So basically, in my personal opinion, he never got a permit. Because of the 60-day thing, the Planning Commission and the Policy Committee, if I speak out of turn, tell me, Brad, but kind of agreed that the only thing, we weren't gonna do anything within the water. You know, the sand, the retaining wall, everything was just gonna be, we're just gonna concede, okay, you got it. But the sidewalk coming down was never part of a permit. We had a handwritten drawing handed to us at the policy meeting. I know Brad didn't see it, but it was different than the handwritten one that Vicky had on file.
Can I clarify that?
Sure.
I actually took that when, as I mentioned in my open forum, I took that to the watershed after I figured out I didn't need to put steps in. So I did take that drawing back, asking them if I needed to reapply, and they said no.
Okay, thank you. Main thing is, again, one of the things, and it's probably not a big deal, but the sidewalk on that drawing, it doesn't say if it was existing or if it's being put in new, so that part was one thing that I thought of. If he actually had a permit from anybody, 60-day or not, I don't think the DNR would have fined him. You know, the permit, it's stated on that watershed one that everybody had to give permits.
That also,
Sure.
when they came out, the city told them I didn't have a permit. That's why,
Okay,
when indeed I did.
okay.
Can I ask, Jeff, was that for the sand blanket?
Yes.
So you were,
They said
I want
if
to
I
hand
had
those
a permit,
pictures, they can see them down
I
here
said
too.
why, and the city told them I didn't have a permit, which indeed I did.
Okay, I just want to ask just clarification on kind of your points of what's being proposed here. So the narrowing of the path from 5 feet to 4 feet, you're not in agreement with that, right? Because of the washout concern. Is that accurate? Okay, just want to just make sure I'm there. And then the ongoing maintenance of the planting, you don't have any concerns with those things. The no additional sand or fill to be brought in, is that a concern? As long as the existing would stay there, there's no concerns of bringing any more in? So one through three, you're all good on, right? 1 through 3 we're good on.
It would be, any more sand would be with city approval.
It's one time.
Okay, so come and get approval to bring it in to maintain that wall? That's the point? Okay. And then you got the concern with the fine, and then concern with number 5, the restoring the shoreline, correct? Okay, I just want to make sure I understand your guys' position on it.
Basically, everything previous has been granted. It's what we got here in front of us tonight that we're concerned about, mainly because of that 60-day rule. So,
Just
go ahead.
couple of things. Yeah, I unfortunately was not in person, but I was remotely in the conversation when we met together as a policy committee, so thanks you guys for allowing me to get online that way. In regards to the timeline, you know, I look back at this and I think to myself, 2021, and here we are in September of 2025 and we still don't have a resolution. That's an awful long time. I know there's all sorts of variables. I understand that. It's just concerning to me that we had such a disconnect, and I hope we no longer have that, between the watershed and the city. It certainly was apparent that the watershed took upon themselves to say, you got a permit. They even came out and inspected it, but in the same token, didn't say,
Didn't have one.
go talk to the city.
Yeah, the city wasn't aware of that at the time. You know, so this violation was sent based on June 25th of 2025. That's what we're talking about tonight.
Right.
Not that old stuff. All the old is behind us.
That's behind us.
I realize that, but it's still over 4 years.
Correct?
Okay. It's a long time for them to be trying to resolve something. I also think that, you know, I went out there and looked, drove down there, walked the trail, or the path, I'll call it. It is 5 feet in width. It's not very long. I mean, it goes roughly just to the top of the hill. If I was to guess, it's, you can correct me if I'm wrong, 25 feet at max, probably to the top of the hill. So it's certainly not very long, but it's quite a slope. And I think if we were to, at this point, ask them to take any of it out, there's no doubt it's going to destroy the existing shoreland. I mean, it's pretty clear just by the way it's, you know, it was all built around that path. If you go around and look, everything's connected together. When I was there, it appeared to me that the water runoff, and we've had a lot of rain this summer, there really was no shoreland damage from what's currently there. So I guess my thought would be is there was a breakdown in communication on the permit process. I realize there's these 60-day things, and that was all prior. Although I would like to look at each situation differently, and I think we need to. There's not a single one of these issues that are the same. We've talked about all of the different ones over the last number of years. So, you know, I'd like to say, well, we did this because we did it for that person, but you really can't, because none of them are the same. But my recommendation would be to require that we put in the shrubbery along the pathway, and that we fine Mr. Lake $3,900. That's my recommendation.
So to clarify, you're going all 1 through 5 on the motion? Or, excuse me, not 1. You're doing 4 and 5 for sure.
That's right. So if you want me to make the motion, I can make a motion. That was just my recommendation.
If you want to, we can, and then if we get a second, then we can have more discussion.
Okay.
Your
So-
proposal's not for number
You
5,
didn't say number 5.
No.
It's number
Yeah.
1, we're planting a shrubbery.
but remove the narrowing of the path from 1. Is that what you're saying?
You want,
I'll make the
Okay.
motion if I can.
all right.
My motion would be to plant shrubbery along the pathway to restrict its view from public waters. I'm not asking to narrow the path to 4 feet. Leave the path as is to minimize the shoreland disturbance. Provide, for ongoing maintenance, obviously, no additional sand or fill to be brought in. Pay the fine to the city of $3,900. And nothing with number 5.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Okay, so the restoration of the shoreline native, don't do that.
No.
Okay.
Long story short, it is to basically require them to plant shrubbery along the existing path and to pay the city $3,900 fine.
Okay. Now, one thing is, the $3,900 is what Brad came up with at the policy committee. I felt that needed to be more of a council discussion than on what the fine should be,
Yep.
not just his. So that's where the $3,900 came from.
Correct.
And other properties that we have done, have fined, have been on an average of $5,000. My personal, it'd be $5,000. He's basically getting everything he needed without everything he wants, other than having to plant some and I know it's a mixed up mess, but we're only talking what's from now.
I'm going to comment on that too. I myself applied for, or got an application from the city for shoreline restoration or improvement as well. And I went to the county, to the DNR, the watershed, the city, and kind of got past the buck. And that's kind of the reason why we did this moratorium, so we can get everybody on the same sheet of music. However, I did not submit it just because there was not clear guidance. And I could have probably done the same thing, but it's still, yep, I get the 60-day thing, but is it still right to just, well, they didn't do it, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it? I don't think it is. So I'm in line with Brad with that as well. I don't think taking anything out is gonna, I mean, you cut a foot off the sidewalk or the path, what is that really doing? Nothing. So leave that as is, plant the shrubbery, and I don't think the fine is anywhere out of line, because now he has all the fill, the path he wanted, technically without city approval, or especially when that permit from the watershed district says that you may be required to receive a permit from other municipalities or entities as well. And to turn a blind eye to that, and being a lakeshore owner myself, I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Well, it doesn't say maybe, it says you have to have permits from the others, or it's null and void.
But with that language, if it was issued prior to that 60 days expiring, after we reached our 60 days, he was technically granted that permit for that. So I mean, technically, he received it.
Right. And that's the
You know,
reason
so it
why
doesn't-
that isn't
that-
even part of the discussion.
It wouldn't, yeah, it wouldn't null and void the watersheds. If he went back, I mean, his understanding was he did all the steps that, from what the watershed told him. Now, did we reach out to the watershed to confirm, his follow-up with them that, yes, he came back and said, hey, I'm doing this path, and they said, yep, you're good, it stays within the existing permit?
Do we have that in writing?
Well, did we reach out to him? I mean, well, that's obviously his statement, but did we confirm that with him? Did we have any
Is there anything in
verification?
writing on that?
Nothing on that? I struggle with, I mean, I know we've done a $5,000 fine to the other property owners, and I made the motion for that amount. I struggle with this here fine a little bit, because he, for all intents and purposes, thought he took care of everything he needed to do when the other agency was telling him. He was issued the permit from us. I mean, should there be something? Maybe, I don't know. That's a tough one, because for everything he knew, he did everything right, only to find out later, and now to say, well, you didn't do this, now we're gonna charge you $3,900 for our failure, and maybe obviously everybody bears some blame. Maybe he should have verified more, certainly, but I don't know. This is,
Can I just
one.
clarify just a moment there? You say it's issued, the watershed stuff all happened without our knowledge. He came here, he came in, went to Sarah, he said, I want to do this. She did the checklist, and the checklist says if you're going to disturb more than 200 square feet within the shoreland area, that you may need a permit from the watershed, may also need a permit from the watershed. So she told him that in an email, and we never heard from him again until after the project was done and the DNR informed us work was going on, had happened out there. So it's not so simple as it just laid on the desk and we didn't follow up. It's like, we said here, he dropped off some paperwork, said you may also need something from the watershed, and it's not uncommon for people to come in and talk to us and say, I might want to do this, and then we never hear from them again. So it wasn't unusual for us to have someone come in and ask questions and not come back.
what,
So,
were they just questions, or was an actual physical application made to the city?
There was an application form. There was no fee paid or anything like that. And so that was kind of where this all came in, was that then because we hadn't, within 10 days, told him it was incomplete, then it makes it complete, and we never took the extra time we would need to review. But this time had passed without our knowledge that he was even doing anything. And so, yes, by matter of default, he got the permit for the other items, and that's why we're not discussing any of that. We're only discussing the 2 items that were not on that application. And that's what people keep getting muddled up, is all this old stuff that happened with the watershed. These are items from 2025 that he got a notice on. Yeah, he did the work prior, but it's work that was not on that old notice. And the reason for this letter now in 2025 was then they finally resolved the old stuff, and then it said, okay, but these 2 weren't resolved, so let's resolve them. So that's kind of how we're here today. So it makes it difficult. I understand he got sent over there because he might also need a permit there, but that didn't absolve him of needing to come back here, is what, in our process is. There's no way we could reach out to everybody to follow up to say, are you really going to come back and get a permit or not? If we, it's easy if they're shingling a roof, you can drive by and you can see there's shingles going on. When it's out in the lake, we don't see that. None of us live on a lake. We don't see it. So we're really trying to deal with just these 2 items. I don't want to get bogged down in that old history.
I just have a question for Jeff. What was your understanding before putting in that walkway?
I applied, I can let Gary address it all. Anything in front of him.
And so, without getting into the finer details of arguing the 60-day rule, so the lakes came in and filled out an application by all procedure the city requires. They did everything they needed to do. That application was submitted, and that was submitted on
An application for impervious surface?
For the wall.
For the wall?
Yeah,
Not for the walkway?
not for the walkway.
He didn't include the walkway in the original application, and he didn't know he needed it. And so he came in, he applied for it it was in 2021. On March 26th, 2021.
We're muddling up the situation
I
here.
don't need to do that. I can tell you in good faith, I contacted the watershed district when I was initially retained on this matter, spoke to their counsel at length, Attorney John Cole. And I talked to him and I said, is there any concern about anything from the watershed district? He said, I'll call you back. And he went, talked to the watershed district administrator. He said, I checked with them, they're good. They have a permit in place. It was inspected, it was signed off on after the work was done, and it's been satisfied.
And they inspected it after the walkway was done?
After the work was done.
The walkway and everything, or the path? Okay.
Yeah, and I did request their file, which they gave me, and it shows pictures both before any work was done and pictures after the work was done. And they have photos in there, and they signed off. Final inspection completed, no violations, no further inspection needed. They said everything was done.
So I think where the communication breakdown is key. I mean, obviously, number one here is there wasn't clearly defined expectations of you for what was required and what was needed in this particular situation. You didn't know that you needed to get a permit for this pathway,
I applied
for the walkway.
No, I took that in.
And that's what we're discussing, is the walkway.
Right.
I went in
Right.
with that, said, here's what I want to do, do I need to reapply? And they said, no, you're good, you can go ahead and do that.
What, that is happening at one entity. We are discussing what is required of the city. And that's where we're trying to figure out how to get that education piece out there. And in the meantime, the moratorium was set in place while we work through all of this, but still, and I hate to put you in the situation of being the, you know, it just unfortunately has to happen to get the education out there of what the ultimate end result could be. If you,
City, no. I mean, they told me to go to watershed, that was it, no help, nothing.
And so the city's been doing good government as far as you're listening to us, and we appreciate that. On the watershed district, the data practices request I made, there's two photos that show the walkway. I mean, when they came and inspected it, the walkway is there. Clearly, I mean, the photos show that it was there when they inspected it, and they signed off and said you're good on that. And on the fine, I understand the fine in the letter, and as the administrator was telling you, that the fine is for these two things after the fact. That they were noticed on June 25th that there was a violation, and then we appealed that. But the letter and the violation, on June 25th was the first letters, so I got a letter from the city saying, okay, we looked at it, we can see the 60-day rule, we got the permit, but we didn't have technically two of these issues in the application, so it didn't count for that. So those are still in violation, and they didn't start then, the fine didn't start on June 25th, according to the letter. It isn't like $100 a day between June 25th and today, and the council, held out veins after that. The fine was already $7,800 on June 25th. They said you already owe us $7,800, and it's like, we've been working with you. I think the 60-day rule might apply to all of this, but we're gonna work with you on this, but now you're saying you already owe $7,800 when we were just going through the 60-day rule. So that when I said, it's, the fine goes to issues before there was an understanding by everybody kind of what the law case was, 60-day rule. And it's like, I get one thing starting to count from June 25th, $100 a day, but the city already said it's $7,800, which seems steep. Notwithstanding that, the resolution, I get the sense of the resolution, I agree with the policy of the resolution. And the 60-day rule, it isn't a gotcha thing. I mean, it was designed by the legislature for these situations where somebody comes in and applies, and they go about their work because they think they're good, and all of a sudden, 4 years later, this is exactly what it's designed for. Not because the city was sitting out there in a foxhole waiting to jump up and snipe at somebody, but the harm still happened to the people that applied and thought they're good. Go to the watershed district. They go to the watershed district, they say you're good. Today, they say they're good. And then there's this. So this resolution screens the site. I mean, I've heard that from you, and I know that's part of the policy of the ordinance. It is for the watershed district as well. It screens the site from the public 1 foot. I mean, 1 foot, it does harm more than just 1 foot. It's not just doing the 1 foot, it's the whole washout thing. And it's not just the washout along the walkway, it's the washout that the water will now be where it's funneled into the walkway, and it works. We got photos even after this summer, nothing even along the lake as he wrote it, but it's gonna wash out behind the wall, and it's gonna cause more of a problem.
Well, not to interrupt, but we do have a motion.
I appreciate your time, don't mean to.
No, that's fine. Did we have a second?
No.
you didn't call for a second.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Brad, seconded by Scott. Is there any other discussion on this? Everyone understands what the motion is?
I think maybe the question is the dollar amount of the fine, and you know, I guess I feel we all hold a responsibility of some sort. So that's kind of, and I can't say it's you 20% and you 80 and you 10 and you 90. I just said we all hold a responsibility. It's 50-50. That's how come I came up with $3,900. So just to clarify that on the fine, in my own mind.
Okay. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I will call the question. All those, everyone understands everything, the parts of it? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion passes 3 in favor, 2 against.
Who was the two?
Joe and
Joe and
Joe and
myself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We will move on to 7C, approve resolution 2025-80, accepting the bids for fire chassis and apparatus.
So the city council previously authorized the advertisement for bids for the replacement of the fire department's first response vehicle, referred to as Unit 1. The committee of the department developed specifications for the vehicle and apparatus, and bids were sought according to law. 2 bids were received for the chassis, and 1 bid was received for the apparatus. The chassis was bid by John Weiss Ford, and then also Saxon Fleet Services, which has the state bid. They bid the same model vehicle. John Weiss was $72,233, and Saxon Fleet was $71,502. The apparatus, we sent out 4 requests to Hyman Fire, Custom, Midwest Fire, and Great Plains. For the Wild Thing apparatus, we received 1 bid back from Hyman for $244,744. The committee reviewed the bids for compliance with the specifications. They recommend that the city proceed with the Wild Thing apparatus from Hyman Fire and the Ford F-550 chassis from John Weiss Ford. The current estimate for delivery is 8 weeks for the chassis. Upon delivery of the chassis to Hyman, the build will take 18 to 24 months. Expected delivery date will be late 2027. And so the action requested is to approve resolution 2025-80, accepting the bid and authorizing the purchase of the fire truck as presented.
Questions?
Just to verify, we'll get the chassis then from John Weiss Ford.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason they recommended John Weiss Ford is because it's local right here. We
Absolutely,
don't have any
right.
costs of delivery.
Yep.
Any questions or discussions? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2025-80?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Brad. Last minute discussion. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 3 in favor, none against, 2 abstentions. 7D, approve pay request number 5, Keekly Underground.
This pay request 5 is for the 2025 Birch and Pine project from Peakley Underground. The contract amount is $4,772,964, and we did have that one change order for $33,000. That was for that Pine Street storm. They have value completed to date is $3,484,437.12. We do take a retainage out of that, less the amount paid previously equals a subtotal due with this pay request number 5 of $895,464.09. And that's the request tonight, is to approve that pay request number 5. And then Mayor Stone had brought up some questions on some of the items, and if we do find any discrepancies, they would be adjusted in the next pay request.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? Do I have a motion to approve pay request number 5?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Scott. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brad. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve Canna Avenue Tractor Trail Amendment to Keekly contract.
So at a prior meeting, the council authorized the city engineer to finalize plans and obtain estimates for the Canna Avenue / Tractor Trail project. We We do have some additional stormwater requirements, so we'll be needing an easement to expand the little storm pond they have there, as well as a public easement for tractor trail. Canna Avenue, the north-south part, is already a public road. It's the east-west part that we need a public easement for. Since the last meeting, the estimates have been updated to include the entire roadway and the storm control at $154,000. The EDA reviewed the estimates at its meeting today and recommends the city proceed. The funds for the project is a combination of the developer, Tractor Supply, the EDA, and possibly some SWU funds. The owner has consented to sign the easements for the roadway and the storm pond and assigned a waiver of assessment for his portion of the roadway. This will be a deferred assessment on the balance of his property to paid in full upon the next lot sale. Tractor Supply will be removing 6,200 square feet of the roadway they had planned to build and contribute those funds to the city project. With the city completing the work, the road will be constructed to a commercial standard with curb, gutter, and stormwater control along with a public easement. The project would be constructed in September in conjunction with the balance of Birch Pine with the crews that are currently on site. If the city proceeds, the catch basins will go in tomorrow prior to the pipe work crew leaving town, with the grading to follow, curb and gutter in the next few weeks with pavement to go in when the balance of Pine and Birch are paved. And I did put up on your table a little map. So that blue area, that is the city, the north-south, that's Canada, that was the part we were going to do. The pink area is what Tractor Supply was gonna do. Now they're gonna remove that from their project, add it onto ours, and then they're gonna pay us for that, what they would otherwise pay. So it kind of is a win-win for everybody to get it done quickly and also to get it to a commercial standard. Their plan was to do a local road standard, which is a 5-ton, and then we would do it to a commercial standard to accommodate heavier traffic. And also it sets the road up to continue to the east for future development. So the EDA's recommendation is to approve the construction of Canna Avenue and Tractor Trail. This will actually be a CO to the Birch Pine Improvement Project, so we won't set up a whole new project, it'll just be a tag along, and those funds will be paid out of these other sources. I don't know, Heidi was at the meeting, Joe, you weren't able to be there. I don't know if you have any additional questions.
Questions?
Yeah, what's this road designed at? It's not, what's the width?
This road, I believe, is
36, curb to curb.
36.
Okay, so our tradition, what we typically have. Very good, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I think getting that road in will just open things up for that field even a little bit more for expansion, so. If there's any other questions or concerns, with that, do I have a motion to consider the recommendation of the EDA?
So move.
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 4 in favor, none against, 1 abstention. 7F, approve agreement to conduct hotel feasibility study.
As you know, earlier this year, we'd reported that the EDA had kind of commissioned a hotel feasibility study. We did send out RFPs, and I received 4 proposals back from Hotel R&D, Patek, HMI, and Leopard, and they ranged all the way from $11,000 to $50,675. The funds would be from the EDA operating fund. We did reach out to the CVB to ask for participation. However, their budget constraints wouldn't allow them to do that at this time. The EDA is looking to enter into an agreement with Hotel R&D for $11,000. We did look to make sure that it met all the criteria outlined in the RFP, so they all bid the same thing. They just have a different approach. So the EDA is looking to enter into that agreement with Hotel R&D for $11,000.
Questions? Concerns? Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation of the EDA for the hotel feasibility study?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7G, approve resolution 2025-81, establishing traffic control.
So this has to do with the Birch and Pine project, that area that's currently under construction. It includes 9 uncontrolled intersections. The only stop signs within the project area is a 4-way stop at Birch and 8th. There are stop signs leaving the project area, like onto Main, onto Ash, onto Sinclair, but within it, only at that one intersection. So Chief Jensen and Ben Klink reviewed the project area, and they recommended the intersections be controlled via stop sign. In each direction, traffic will have to stop every 2 blocks. So you go 2 blocks and stop, whichever direction you're going. That's how it is all set up in there. This will be both traffic calming and safety purposes. I did provide you a map with all they would be, but like at Pine Street, you'd stop at 4th, 6th, and 8th. At Birch, you'd stop at 5th and 7th, so they're all, every other kind of is set up that way. There's 2 other things that we had that were talked about related to this project somewhat, and one was a flashing crosswalk at Ash and 9th, and the other one, we had talked earlier about Sinclair having a Birch and Sinclair Lewis Avenue at Holy Family. So we're gonna update those costs and see if that's something that we want to be able to do there. I know the Ash and 9th was something we talked about earlier. We did reach out to Holy Family on the other one. I'm not certain where that's at. We'll reach out back to them again as well. But we're looking right now to approve Resolution 2025-81, authorizing the installation of those traffic control signs.
Questions? Concerns? Otherwise, do I have a motion to authorize the installation of the traffic control signs?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Scott. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brad. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Unfinished business. Shoreland ordinance.
At the last city council meeting, the council tasked the policy committee to work on the shoreline ordinance, including education pieces and the application process in an effort to expedite the lifting of the moratorium. The policy committee met along with a representative of the planning commission, provided direction to staff on what they'd like to see developed. The draft of that development has been circulated to the committee for comment. I think we got comment back so far from one of the members. Once we have all those comments incorporated, then we will bring a request back to lift the moratorium. Once we have all those pieces together, we don't have that tonight because we don't have all the comments back yet.
Okay, any questions or concerns with that?
Is there a date those comments are due to you?
They go to
or the
Sarah.
committee? To Sarah? Is there a date that, so that doesn't get drug out?
Sarah, did you give him a deadline?
We were hoping by today, so I think between the committee members will be aware of this and have it hopefully
We'll
before
reach
the
out
next
to 'em,
council meeting.
remind 'em.
Okay. All right, just so it doesn't keep going.
Right.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, we have no new business. Then move on to the consent agenda. We have unpaid claims of $983,066.64 for a total of the same. We have Resolution 2025-82, accepting contributions of $158.50 from the men's card playing club group to be allocated to the senior center, $100 from Mike and Nancy No to be allocated to the fire department, $100 from Mike and Nancy No to be allocated to the ambulance department, and $100 from Michael and Nancy No to be allocated to the police department. We also have $130 from Minnesota National Bank to be allocated to the police department, $129 from Minnesota National Bank for the ambulance department, and $129 from Minnesota National Bank to be allocated to the fire department, and $50 from Taqueria El Garrido, if I said that right, to be allocated to the park department. And on behalf of the city and the council, I want to thank those groups for their donations. And is there any questions about the consent calendar as presented? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve consent calendar?
So,
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items.
Couple informational items. Reminder that the budget workshop is Wednesday, September 10th at 5 p.m. The public hearings on the final assessments, that would be for Birch and Pine project, for the reclamation project, and for the delinquent utilities on October 1st at 6:30 p.m. That's a regular council meeting night. Just to let you know that the GO Bond 2025A has closed, and the funds were received by the city on Friday. I have the Spectrum channel lineup changes for you in your packet, and then we have the one additional item that Brad brought in tonight about the Time Travelers Trek on Saturday, September 20th at Sinclair Lewis Park.
Okay. You got anything you want to say about that? or-
Yeah, just a couple quick things. It's an event that's being put on by the Historical Society along with the Sinclair Lewis Foundation, and they've been just trying to bring light to the historical nature of Sauk Center and the places and whatnot. And so just a group of people got together and just felt it was important that the event continue to do, or the groups continue to work at the best way possible to kind of bring back the sense of the historical nature of Sauk, whether it's touring the historical, the home, Sinclair Lewis home, or whatever it is. But they're going to have musicians, DJs, they're going to have newspapers that are going to be handed out by people dressed up in the same era of Sinclair Lewis days, or excuse me, Sinclair Lewis when it was in town. So it's really pretty cool. And certainly they've gone out and continue to go out and seek funds to make it happen. But I think it's going to be an awesome day. And so I encourage people to to go down and just participate if they can, or just go down and enjoy the day.
Okay. Any other questions about the informational? Otherwise, we have reached the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Motion by Brad. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.